Greetings, and welcome to A Year of Movies, a Planet Geek production. For this project, we are using the Ivan Walters reference book of 365 films to watch on the day they happened. Each day, we watch a movie associated with the date we are watching it on.
And as it is the 27th of August, we will be watching Moneyball from 2011, directed by Bennett Miller and starring Brad Pitt. So to begin with, I've only seen this movie once, and I believe it might have been on an actual rental with a bunch of people from a Blockbuster, and I don't believe that I really paid fully attention to the actual movie itself, as I think there might have been also a brand new video game that had come out being played on a nearby television, so I think I might have been watching this movie in passing. Because, as I'm going to say, this was my first full watch of this movie. There were scenes that seemed very familiar, very like full scenes, not just like clips from a scene, but like full scenes playing out. So I might have watched like 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, but again, this would be my first full watch of this particular movie. And like I'd already stated, not only does this movie star Brad Pitt, but it also stars Jonah Hill, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Chris Pratt, Casey Bond, Stephen Bishop, and Robin Wright. Billy Bean, played by Brad Pitt, general manager of the Oakland A's, one day has an epiphany. Baseball's conventional wisdom is all wrong. Faced with a tight budget, Bean must reinvent his team by outsmarting the rich ball clubs. Joining forces with an Ivy graduate, Peter Brand, played by Jonah Hill, Bean prepares to challenge old school traditions. He recruits bargain bin players whom the scouts have labeled as flawed, but have game-winning potential, based on the book by Michael Lewis. Now, as I've stated before, my not so general like of sports biographies, the underdog story and all that. However, this one is a little different because it comes at a sports movie without sports being the actual main part of the story. Yes, of course, it deals with the actual real-life events that happened with the Oakland A's in their 2002 season, but it definitely is more of a character-driven story than normally. We are obviously dealing with the baseball as a secondary storyline, where we have Brad Pitt, the one trying to make the best team he can for as little amount of money as possible. And like I stated at the beginning, he goes to get those flawed players who have potential, and then thankfully things do work out for them to a point. Now, the interactions between Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill are really fun to see because Brad Pitt has this idea in his head, and especially in the early points when he tries to get his point across to Jonah Hill, and then the eventual realization of Jonah Hill's character coming to, oh, I understand what you're saying, and this is what we should be doing. Again, we're dealing with Philip Seymour Hoffman does a fantastic role, and the rest of the cast is really good. However, we don't get a lot of anyone else other than Brad Pitt. He deals with being the manager of the team as well as being a separated father, which is also a secondary story that doesn't really play much into the baseball, but in a way it kind of does. And again, this isn't quite the big spectacular movie that I was expecting. I was expecting to be blown away by this movie. While it is very interesting to figure out the math of how stuff went and the way they portray it on screen, it is a very convincing way to do it. It just doesn't have the hugeness of other sports related movies that have, which is kind of contradictory to how I feel about sports movies based on true stories, sort of thing. So part of the actual core part of the story is the A's suddenly switching gears from a not very successful team to suddenly being on a streak of winning games, which actually goes to 20 games, breaking a league record. And it's on August 27th, 2002, when they play against the Kansas City Royals for their 14th win. And when it came to the Academy Awards for that particular season, it actually ended up getting nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor for Brad Pitt, Best Supporting Actor for Jonah Hill, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Film Editing, and Best Sound Mixing. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this particular episode and look off into the future to see what we're going to be watching for tomorrow, which is the 28th of August, and that is Alini from 1985. So until next time, go see a movie.